Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Chiropractic Student Podcast. Today we are joined by Dr. Arno Burnier coming in. Thank you so much for joining us today, Arno.
Louis, I'm so grateful you asked for me to join this podcast. I'm excited.
I'm very excited to talk to you, and I just spoke to Aaron Morris a few weeks ago from Syntropy, and he said without MLS he would not have, and yourself, Arno, he would not be the chiropractor he is today. And I thought, what a great idea to get you on the podcast as well, to tell everyone a little bit about yourself. So for those who don't know Arno, how would you describe yourself? Who is Arno?
A wild man.
A wild man.
A wild man. By all definition, for 45 years, an extraordinary chiropractor. And I say this without boasting myself, but I had a practice in Yardley, Pennsylvania for 25 years, where somehow I attracted a lot of babies and children. So I had virtually a baby practice, not from sick people, but from people that were educated about chiropractic, decided to receive chiropractic care throughout pregnancy, delivers a baby mostly at home, some not in a birthing center, but mostly at home, and then asked me to check the baby from day one. So as a result, I was seeing a lot of kids, and the place was always bustling with families and young kids, and it was really alive. You know, I think a chiropractic practice should be alive because we are not about symptom, sickness, and disease. We're about life, health, healing, and well-being. So to me, chiropractic is about life. And therefore, my practice reflected this. I call it a cafe of life, a place where we serve life, we dispense the nectar of life, and then, you know, it has to be alive. So it was eclectic with beautiful music, a lot of artwork that speak for itself, no neon light, all incandescent light with dimmers. So a beautiful environment. That was my own self-expression. But when people walked in, right away they knew, oh, I thought I was going into a doctor's office. Oh no, this got to be a place completely different. And then there was people in the waiting room, kids running around, baby crying, baby screaming, babies laughing. So that's my 45 years, 25 years in Pennsylvania and 20-year part-time in Colorado. So is that my claim to fame? I don't know. My claim to fame, I think, is Masterpiece Training Camp.
Yeah.
So for 18 years, we had a 6-day intensive training camp that anyone that have come to it will tell you it was unmatched in the profession. And it was a green berets of chiropractic. It was so phenomenal. And basically, the formula was great. The formula that everyone, including myself, all of the staff, all of the teacher, and myself, and all the participants had to do everything together. So I was not separate from the participant. And then the next thing, the formula that I had was that we were going to waste people physically, waste them mentally, waste them emotionally, so that they will be left with their spirit and their heart. And we never missed the mark. So that's truly my, claim to fame. And as you know, I was born and raised in Paris, France. Yeah. I went to Sherman College in 1973 when there was no college. So I flew from Paris to Spartanburg, arrived in Spartanburg at around 11 at night, and realized there is no college. I have never seen an application. I have never seen a brochure, and I only have a phone number in my pocket, which was a phone number of the future president of the college. So that has been my journey. And then you probably have heard of MLS, Mastery Love Service, which in the early days was called Making Love to the Spine. Yeah. And the reason we called it Making Love to the Spine is because I felt that the vast majority of the profession were taught in institutions where they were taught to bring the neck to tension, to a lock, and then push on it and get a pop. And that to me was barbaric, a manipulation, dishonoring to the person, dishonoring to the nervous system. And I had intuitively grown and developed a way of adjusting that was extremely honoring, where we don't bring anything to tension, we bring everything to ease. We float the neural canal, with the spinal cord inside the neural canal, and then with extreme precision and speed, we deliver adjustments that are very specific for each listing. So that gives you an overview of why you may think that, you know, I'm somewhat known for in the profession.
A good summary, and I think you don't give yourself enough credit, because from what you've done through the profession, so many more training camps, facilities, seminars have actually, when I actually dig down, a lot of them came from, they were like, yeah, I went to MLS, and then from that, I've done this and this and this. And everyone seems to have started at MLS. So how did MLS start? What's the story?
Simply, two factors, okay? Two factors. One, people in my practice felt very wonderful, honored when they got adjusted. And when they refer family members from another state, another country to other chiropractor, they would get back to me and say, you know, I refer my uncle to a chiropractor in California, and he didn't have the experience that I'm having in this office. That was one. Two, my practice got known on the East Coast. So I had students from Adio Institute of Chiropractic, from Sherman College, from Life University coming up during their break to visit my practice. And they would say, you know, you got to teach the way you're adjusting, you got to teach what you're doing. So that was the second factor. So for me, as I mentioned earlier, I felt the ways that people adjusted, chiropractor adjusted in the profession, was antiquated, a violation. It was a violation. And I hate to say it, but truly, it's a rape. It was a rape of people's system and nervous system. So I decided, and also the other thing that I saw is that 1961, when B.J. Palmer died, the skills of the profession declined progressively, and got worse and worse and worse and worse over time. And contrary to other sports where, for example, if you take Andre Agassi, a tennis player that was a world champion at some point, he couldn't make it today in a regular match with some of the best top players in tennis. So in most fields, actually, things improve gradually over time, but our skills in the profession decline over time. And I decided that I would make an adjustment to that and a correction to that. So I started MLS. And as you know, whether it's Syntropy, whether it's Infinite Adjusting, whether it's KTC, I mean, there is a whole slew of them. They all stem like the spoke of a wheel from MLS. So it's people that started those seminars were on staff for many years. I've taken, you know, before becoming on staff, they had taken 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seminars, because MLS is not a technique. It's an approach to adjusting that can be applied to upper cervical. We apply it actually in MLS2 to upper cervical, to occiput lift, to any form of adjusting. You can use Gonstead, you can use full spine, you can use any approach, even network spinal analysis, which is very light touch. They still can use all of the skills that we teach at MLS.
It's interesting. My way into chiropractic was through into training was Kairos, and they're very heavy on the physical training. And then like from Brett and people like that. And again, like your name kept coming up, and you say students came to you and said, we need this training. But now, in today's profession of chiropractic, whether you're in the US, in Europe, or wherever you may be, what would be the blueprint? What would you tell a student to do? Like maybe like 5 things. What is like their priority list as a student? What should they be doing?
Priority list, number 1, be very clear as to what chiropractic is and what chiropractic is not. Studying the philosophy and the principle deeply, taught by B.J. Palmer. Read the green books. They are tough to read, but read the green books. Read Joe Strauss books. And you know, I just published a book called The Cafe of Life and the Mosquito Principle, right? That book is very different than BJ's book or Joe Strauss' book. It's my journey through life and everything that I experience and witness. And I weave into it all of the vitalistic principle that chiropractic endorses and is made of. So it's a very easy read, but it's a profound read. And for any student, it will give them a foundation and a basis, because without the philosophy, you are like a boat without a rudder. You're like a car without a GPS. So number one, establish very strong foundation in the philosophy and the principle of chiropractic. Know what it is that you do and what it is that you don't do. Number two, grow very strong communication and public speaking skills. Because without being able to communicate properly and to educate properly and to share the philosophy and the principle and the science and the art of chiropractic, it is challenging in today's world to build a referral practice, a stress-free practice. But if you can teach and educate and give talks on a regular basis, and I'm not talking about a sell pitch on chiropractic, I'm talking about talks that will teach the foundation, the principle, the building block of what is healing, what is health, what is well-being, what is wellness, what is the meaning of symptoms, what is the meaning of illness, what is the birthing process, the dying process, all of this. If you can teach that in an office, you will draw to yourself a large constituency of people that will not only refer to you, but also come to you on a regular basis. So that's number two. Number three, acquire true professional skills in adjusting. And I want to emphasize that we are supposed to graduate from a professional school, which means we should be training and preparing every single day prior to entering offices like a professional. And that is something that I instilled deeply in Masterpiece Training Camp and certainly in MLS training. The early training of MLS, when I felt we had to cut through the field, we had to really lay the law, in quote, down. After the first half day, people could hardly walk because their legs were hurting so bad from squatting.
I remember squatting in university, and like you could last like a minute. So yeah,
right.
People struggle.
Exactly. So this is very important. And then acquire some very simple business skills, because one thing that I noticed today in the profession is that new graduates make things extremely complex, extremely difficult. You can see upwards of 120 to 140 people a day with either no CA, totally automated, or with one chiropractic advocate, a CA. So I see people telling me they're seeing 17 people in the morning and 14 in the afternoon, and they have 5 employees. And I'm like, this is insane. You know, your overhead with a simple business model, your overhead should be about 10 to 11%. That's it. So in the first few days of the month, you have covered your entire overhead. Everything is paid for. Everything else is going to be going your way. And the last thing that I would say, once you have acquired basic business skills, is to always serve people first, take care of them as if they were friends or family, and let the finance, the business be on the back end and the byproduct of your service. I don't know if you have heard this, Louis, but I'll share it with you. For the first 25 years that I practiced, I didn't know what I was making. I refused to know what I was making. So the money, cash practice, the money was collected at the front desk by my CA. At the end of the day, she put it in an envelope that you zip from the bank, you know. It was brought to my home. My wife deposited it, and I never knew until I had to sell my practice what I made. So I would tell my wife, do we have enough fuel to do this? Do we have enough fuel to buy this car? Do I have enough fuel to buy this house? Yes or no? Can we do this? Can we do that? And that completely separated my healing hand from my business hand. So money never entered my consciousness. As a result, when I interacted with people in my practice, it was solely on the ground of the service that I render and how I can help them, how chiropractic can help them. And notice that I said can help them. I didn't say help the headaches, help the allergies, help their backache, help their sciatica, because we don't know. We don't know how a person is going to respond to an adjustment. But one thing we know, if we adjust them properly, that their physiology will be better off for it. Their being will be better off for it. And as you know, in most instances, we witness amazing outcome, but chiropractic is not a treatment for any condition. It is a clearing of the neurospinal system. It is a clearing to allow the life force that flow through the nerve system to flow freely throughout the body. So when we are clear as to what we do and we stay on our ground, we can deliver a very unique service that no other profession delivers and have a fantastic practice.
That's really interesting because like a lot of practices you go to are quite numbers driven. Like there'll be a goal you need to see, or not need to see, but it would be nice to see X amount of people. How do you go around? I'm being quite personal now. How do you go around, because this is something I'm having an issue with, of setting yourself, because I want to see as many people as my body can allow me and help as many people as I can, but does that need to be a numerical number? Like, does that need to be I'm aiming for 150, or does it need to be just put the energy out there that I want to see one more, and it's always just one more person? I want to see one more person. How do you go about that?
It's a great question, and I'm glad you say, we are being told you have to see so many. A lot of the coaches will give you like, you got to reach that goal, you got to reach that goal, you got to reach that goal. But this is one approach, but there is another approach, which is your vibration, your presence, your performance, the outcomes that you see in your practice, your communication skill, and your being. To me, you are, Lewis, the nucleus of your practice. And this nucleus generates a morphic field, a field of consciousness and a field of energy. And as you acquire new people from the beginning, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, nucleus start to grow in its strengths and its potential. And it starts to radiate outwards more and more. So this type of practice that I built from the inside out rather than the outside in starts slow. This is why in my early days in practice, I would work in a restaurant to supplement my income, because I didn't want to see people as dollar sign. I wanted to be free to just communicate with them and giving them the choice. I've explained to you what is it that I do, what is it that I can offer, and then it is your choice now and your responsibility to make a decision, rather than trying to coerce them into receiving care or to manipulate them into receiving care. I felt I wanted to establish a very human relationship, not a doctor-patient relationship, but a human relationship with respect, not like, oh, you're my buddy. No, you, by your presence, by your communication skill, by what you can deliver, you establish a perimeter of mutual respect with a person. So by growing a practice like this, it starts slow, but it's stress-free. And then progressively it increase, and suddenly it exponentially takes off. And then you never have to ever promote, advertise, do marketing, anything. It's just completely self-referral, and it's stress-free. So it's a completely different approach. And we are not, as much as we are professional in the healing arts. We are not professional going to the Olympic that have to be like I want you by next week to improve your long distance running by 1%. No, not that.
So increase your vibration. So working
Exactly, by at least 1% every day or 10% every month, whatever.
how do you recommend people do that then? So if people are hearing this for the first time, how am I going to increase my vibration for those people for my service?
Okay, so in the morning, meditation, training to prepare to really warm up your body and the speed of your muscle for every single arc, for every single listing in the spine. Then, read something positive, only about health, healing, wellness, and well-being. I had a perimeter in my practice that unless it was an emergency, my wife or my children were not to be in touch with me during my office hours, unless it was an emergency. That during my time in practice, in my early days, I had time, in the early days, you didn't have cell phone. So you have to be present in your office waiting for a phone call.
Yeah.
So, when you start, you see one person, and then maybe 2 days later, you have three more people, and then 5. And then the following week, you have 7 people, and then 1 dropout. So the following week, you have 6 people. That's how it was in the early days.
Yeah.
So during all that dead time that I had to wait in my practice, with my office hours in the morning being 10 to 1 and in the afternoon 4 to 8, all of that time, my mentor, Reggie said, do not ever put your mind anywhere else but on chiropractic. You're not studying real estate. You're not looking at motorcycle magazine. You're not going on the internet. You're not going on the web. You're only preparing yourself for what's to come. And as a result, I start to write out sentence by sentence entire talks. A 1-hour talk on universal intelligence, a 1-hour talk on innate intelligence, a 1-hour talk on life force, a 1-hour talk on the triad of life, a 1-hour talk on the meaning of symptoms, and so on and so forth. So by the time I start to get busier, I had a lot of background. And if I wasn't writing a talk, I would read the green books. I would read books on healing, on health, on well-being. I don't want to know about arthritis. I don't want to know about diabetes. I don't want to know about, gastritis or whatever, because medicine is wonderful. To me, wonderful is fantastic, but they specialize in symptoms, sickness, and disease care, and pathology and morbidity. Is it overused, abused, and misused? Absolutely. But nevertheless, we have to let it be for the field of expertise that it is. But my field of expertise is life, health, healing, wellness, and well-being. So one question that I would ask people on the first visit, if you want light in your home, do you go to people that study darkness, or do you go to people that study light?
I like that.
So when the public start to understand that we're not in competition with medicine, we're not attacking medicine, we're not opposed to medicine, but we have something to offer that is completely different, life and vitality, and a physiology, a process that can facilitate and be positive for human physiology, which is a chiropractic adjustment of clearing what I coined and call the neurospinal system. We're not adjusting vertebrae, we're not adjusting the spine. We're adjusting a human being by adjusting the neurospinal system.
I always find when I talk to people like yourself who are so passionate and so certain in what you do, like it rolls off the tongue because you've been there, you've lived it. You're so chiropractic is within you. You are chiropractic. It's just everything. And like I'm a year and a half in practice now. I graduated a year and a half ago, and I still have these conflicts going in and out of my brain, like about what I should be learning, what I should be studying. And you put things so simply with the light and the dark, and we should be studying that health and wellness and not topping up our knowledge on the latest pharmaceuticals or whatever it might be, because then that will I guess, change your vibration towards what you're studying as well. Like it will affect that whole system of things. How do you stay so congruent with it in a world where there's a lot of incongruency and like you're still speaking so passionately and lovingly about this profession, and it's amazing. How have you stuck through that?
You know, the journey is simple. First of all, from where you are, Luis, congratulations after a year and a half. You know, you're a graduate, you're in practice.
Thank
It's
you.
wonderful. But you have to remind yourself that what school did you graduate from? Which school?
McTimony.
McTimony,
Yeah.
which you're lucky because McTimony has a very strong philosophical base. So at least I believe you're not confused. But many of the other school, the graduates are totally confused. They don't know what is it that they do, what is it that they don't do. They don't know, are they a pseudo-physical therapist, a pseudo-chiropractor, a pseudo-osteopath, a pseudo-homeopath, a pseudo-nutritionist, a pseudo-physical trainer. They are completely confused. They are a jack of all trade and master of none.
Mm.
So at least you came from McTimony. But having come from McTimony, you still have a journey. You have to move on your journey. I was extremely passionate when I came out of Sherman College, no doubt. I was very clear on my purpose. I was very clear on my mission. I was very clear on what is it that I do and do not do. Yet I was green. You know, I had to grow in my experience. And over time, your interaction with people, hit and miss, things you realize, oh, I totally blew up with that person. I completely messed up, you know. And by the way, if you mess up on the first visit in your communication, own it, and say, let's stop. Think of it as a relationship with somebody, not a doctor-patient, but a relationship, a human relationship, or an amorous relationship. And then say, okay, let's stop here. I completely messed up. Own it. Let's restart. Okay. That has happened to me a few times where I felt the energy in the room on my first visit is not harmonious. It's not congruent. It's not fluid. It's gunky. There's gook in there. And I say, okay, I messed up. Let me restart. In that action, you show yourself as being authentic and human and vulnerable. And immediately you gain that person. That's it. Your person is yours because you have shown your humanity. Rather than I'm a doctor, you know, like I really know what I'm doing.
I know you're a real person.
Exactly. So be patient with yourself, but stay on the journey, stay on the path, and constantly what BJ talked about, sleeping and checking. Constantly check. Every evening, check. Where did you slip? And come back to center. Where did you slip to the right or to the left? And come back to the alignment of this is what I do, and I only do that. And I'll give you a simple little analogy. Please. Say that somebody comes in and say, you know, I have diabetes. I understand. You have to acknowledge. Yeah. You have to acknowledge, validate the person. But then I would say, I understand. I'm a dentist. Open your mouth. Let me check your teeth. So they come in, they have a shoulder problem. I understand. I'm a dentist. Get in the chair, open your mouth, and let me look at your teeth. What I'm conveying is, oh, I have hemorrhoids. I understand. Open your mouth. I'm a dentist. It's no different with a chiropractor. I understand. Lay down on the table, let me check you and clear your neurospinal system. I'm not here to treat their diabetes. I'm not here to treat their shoulder pain. I'm not here to treat their hemorrhoids. That is the field of therapists, of medical doctors, of other practitioners. My field of expertise is to open up the channel between brain and body, between brain cell and tissue cell, and clear the channel to which the life force and all of the information pass through. And if I stay in that field with total clarity, not certainty, clarity, then people can anchor themselves to you and you become a magnet, because in time, they will understand that if it's good for me, it has to be good for my husband, for my children, for my newborn, because they witness the positive expression of what takes place. The other thing that I would recommend, and not right off the bat, you have to be comfortable with it, but I adjusted in total silence, no talking.
I try. My people talk.
I know, I know, I know it's hard at the beginning, especially I could do this because I had regular talks. Every 2 weeks, I had talks in my office that would clear the field, answer tons of questions that people had, and brings them more and more into themselves, into the center of themselves. So, but practicing in silence lets the adjustment speak for itself. So it's something that you may want to aim towards, but not necessarily do right away. It has to be authentic and from you, not like, oh, this sounds like a good coaching formula, so I'm going to do it. No, not that. It has to be real and authentic.
Yeah, make it happen naturally.
Exactly.
I've really enjoyed the way that you've spoke this evening. Well, this afternoon for you, but this evening for me, it's starting to get dark. You can notice the way you are very methodical with your words is incredible. Like everything is a lovely bullet point for me, which is amazing. And there's so much information from this podcast that I've got written down that's really going to help students, new grads, and even chiropractors out there who are just looking to expand and grow and increase their vibration. I think everything that you've done for this profession, like the journey you've been through, and all the words that you constantly give, and the resource with your new book as well. I'll leave a link to everything below so people can just click it, buy it on Amazon straight away. And as well to any of the other information that you have out there, I'll put a link below for people, because we need to understand this, like to get your certainty, to get your success, to get your happiness in this profession. I think hear it from the horse's mouth. Like that's a phrase to say. Like I just, yeah, I think I've got goosebumps over my body just from having the ability to talk to you. So thank you so much, Arno. I really appreciate
You're welcome. You're welcome, Louis.
And
we have a few more minutes. I see the timer left. So I want to say, when I talk about you being the nucleus of your practice,
yeah,
you yourself are that center. So when you work on yourself, when you grow yourself, when you transform yourself, when you're congruent with your lifestyle, when your words match your actions, then there is a field of integrity that emanate from you. People can feel it. This human being is in integrity with his message. That alone will grow your practice. People always look for the outside. Teach me how to get new people. Teach me how to do this, how to do that. It starts from you. It's an inside-out philosophy of life. It starts from within. So you work on yourself and be patient and let the universe bring things to you, rather than going out and go hunting for it. Well, let the universe bring it for you.
Well, we say as chiropractors, above, down, inside, out. And then
that's right.
If we're not living, like, yeah, it makes complete sense. But if you
connected to your soul, connected to your soul purpose from your heart, with all the skin in your hand, head, heart, hand, is a symbol of our profession. Yeah. The triune of our profession is head, heart, hand. Connected to your soul purpose, to your spirit, full of love in your heart, and with phenomenal skills. Simple formula. That's all it takes.
You got me pumped. I'm in practice tomorrow as well. It's going to be great. Thank you so much again for sharing those words. It's been such a pleasure having you on, and thank you so much for your time to share your words with everyone. And I hope so many people listen to this and share it to their friends and other chiropractors, and even those who aren't chiropractors, who need to hear the message of health and hope and love. Yeah, thank you so much, Arno.
So Louis, I've done a lot of podcasts, okay?
I know, I've heard a lot.
But you are one of the most authentic and spontaneous and connected person which tells me that in practice, people are going to tune into that. They're going to anchor to that. So don't change anything. Don't start adopting a persona or anything. Stay real and authentic and human the way you are right now, because that's a winning formula.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's lovely. That's just such a great thing to hear as well. Thank you. Yeah, if anyone wants to check out anything else, look in the description below, and all the links to Arno's book and all of the other resources. Please check them out. And again, thank you, Arno.
Thank you so much. I mean, I had such a good time doing this with you. This is great.